Picture a world already connected. Copper ships sailing from Cyprus to Egypt. Tin hauled from mountains in Afghanistan to workshops in Syria. Kings writing to each other like old friends, trading gold, slaves, and royal brides. This was humanity's first globalization, 3,000 years before ours. Then, in the span of just 50 years, it all vanished. Cities burned to the ground. The greatest empires on Earth collapsed, one after another. In some kingdoms, writing itself disappeared for centuries. There was no declared world war, no recorded plague, just collapse. And the question that has haunted historians for decades is this: what really happened the night the greatest trade network of the ancient world went dark? This is the story of the lost Bronze Age superhighway. Before we dive in, if you love uncovering the secrets of forgotten civilizations, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because what you're about to learn might change how fragile you think any civilization really is, including ours. Let's rewind to 1250 BCE. The Eastern Mediterranean isn't a scattering of isolated cultures. It's one interlocking network. In Anatolia, the Hittite emperor rules from his capital, Hattusa, controlling the tin routes flowing in from the east. In Egypt, a pharaoh sits atop the most powerful agricultural state on the planet, exporting gold and grain. In Greece, Mycenaean palaces at Mycenae, Pylos, and Thebes thrive, shipping out olive oil and luxury pottery. And at the center of it all, the island of Cyprus, the largest copper source in the known world. The discovery of the Uluburun shipwreck off the coast of Turkey revealed just how deep this exchange ran. 10 tons of copper ingots, a ton of tin, African ivory, Baltic amber, even seeds from Mesopotamia, all on a single ship that sank in the 14th century BCE. This wasn't primitive barter. This was a complex, interdependent economy, eerily similar to today's global supply chains. And if you think interdependence between nations is a modern invention, hold that thought, because that's exactly what made the coming collapse so catastrophic. But tightly interconnected networks share one fatal weakness. Break a single link, and the whole chain can fail. Around 1200 BCE, the links began to crack, one after another. The Hittite royal archives reveal an escalating famine crisis. Letters from King Hattusili III beg the Egyptian pharaoh for emergency grain shipments to save the life of my country. This isn't routine diplomacy. This is a superpower crying out for help. At the same time, modern climate studies, based on tree rings and lake sediment cores, show the Eastern Mediterranean entering a severe, multi-decade drought. Crops failed. Famine spread. And when people go hungry, even stable kingdoms start cracking from within. Add to that earthquakes. Archaeologists have documented a cluster of destructive quakes hitting sites like Tiryns and Mycenae in this exact window. A pattern some researchers have called an earthquake storm. Drought, famine, earthquakes, and a fragile political climate. Every ingredient for disaster was in place. All that was missing was the final spark. Before we get to the spark that lit it all on fire, tell me in the comments, what do you think these empires could have done to avoid collapse? Drop your theory now, and I'll respond to the best ones at the end of this episode. And if you're enjoying this journey through time, make sure to hit that like button. And now, the spark. Or rather, the storm. On the temple walls of Medinet Habu in Egypt, Pharaoh Ramses III immortalized his legendary naval battle against a mysterious coalition of invaders. Egyptian scribes called them the Sea Peoples. We still don't fully know who they were. Some see desperate refugees fleeing collapsing homelands. Others see opportunistic raiders and pirates exploiting the chaos. And some believe they were both, displaced peoples turned invaders fighting to survive. The inscriptions describe a massive fleet striking the Nile Delta, while Egyptian texts claim no land could stand before them. The Hittites, Cyprus, and Ugarit had all fallen before the wave ever reached Egypt. But the most haunting piece of evidence comes from the city of Ugarit in modern-day Syria. Archaeologists found a clay tablet that was never sent, a final letter from the king of Ugarit to the king of Cyprus, pleading for help. Enemy ships were attacking, the fields lay burned, and the kingdom's own army and fleet were stationed far away, unable to defend the city. The tablet was baked solid in the kiln where it was being prepared for shipment, because the city burned at that exact moment. Ugarit was never rebuilt again. Here's the truth most people miss. The Sea Peoples weren't the cause. They were the final act in a long chain of collapses. Think of it as an intricate row of dominoes, every piece leaning on the next. When Ugarit fell, the tin routes running through it stopped. No tin means no bronze. No bronze means no weapons, no farming tools, no functioning economy. The Hittite Empire, which depended on Egyptian grain shipped through Ugaritic ports, lost its food lifeline at the worst possible moment. Its capital, Hattusa, was abandoned and burned within a single decade. In Greece, the Mycenaean palaces, complex bureaucratic centers managing everything from olive oil production to food distribution through thousands of linear B records, collapsed entirely. Strikingly, writing itself vanished from Greece for over 400 years afterward, a period historians call the Greek Dark Ages. This is what archaeologist Eric Klein calls systems collapse. Not a single cause, but a perfect storm of interlocking failures. Drought, famine, earthquakes, invasion, and broken supply chains, all hitting at nearly the same time. Complex systems collapse far faster than simple ones, because every part depends on every other part. If this is hitting you as hard as it hit me when I first researched it, this is exactly the kind of story I dig up every week on this channel. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next episode, and let me know. Do you see a parallel between this ancient collapse and our own interconnected world today? By 1150 BCE, the face of the Eastern Mediterranean had completely changed. Of roughly 47 major archaeological sites in the region, more than 40 were destroyed or abandoned. The Hittite Empire vanished from the map forever. Egypt survived, but limped away exhausted, losing its grip on its territories in the Levant and entering a long decline it would never fully recover from. But from the ashes of this collapse, a new world was born. With the Hittite monopoly on iron gone, ironworking technology spread rapidly across the region, ushering in the Iron Age. In the Levant, once marginal peoples rose to prominence. The Phoenicians, who seized the power vacuum to become the ancient world's greatest sailors, spreading the alphabet whose descendants underlie most of the world's writing systems today. And that's exactly what makes the Bronze Age story so remarkable. Collapse isn't always the end. Sometimes it's the creative destruction that clears the way for an entirely new world. Why does any of this matter today? Because our modern world looks eerily like the Bronze Age network. Interconnected global supply chains, economies dependent on rare resources shipped from distant places, and complex systems that a single disruption, a pandemic, a climate crisis, a regional conflict, can shake to their core. Economic historians today warn that highly interdependent systems, for all their efficiency, carry hidden fragility. The more interconnected a system, the faster a crisis can spread from one point to the next. Exactly how the crisis in Ugarit rippled to the Hittites, and then to Greece, within just a few decades. The Bronze Age doesn't just tell us a story about the past. It asks an unsettling question about the present. How fragile is our own interconnected world? And are we ready for the one shockwave that could send the dominoes falling again? The superhighway that had united the Eastern Mediterranean for centuries vanished within a single generation. No one saw it coming. No one was ready. And that's exactly why this story deserves to be told 3,000 years later. If you enjoyed this journey, give this video a like, drop your own theory in the comments, and subscribe for weekly episodes on the greatest secrets of lost civilizations. And tell me, which collapsed civilization should I uncover next? See you in the next episode.